6:30, we'll call the Sawyer County Board of Supervisors meeting to order, please. Madam Clerk, may we have roll call?
Dale Schluter. Here. Kay Wilson. Here. Tweed Schuman.
Here.
Stacy Hessel. Jason Weaver. Here. Mark Helwig. Here. Thomas Duffy. Here. Marshall Savitsky. Here. Brian Bisonet. Here. Chuck Van Etten. Here. Chris Rusk. John Wigheimer.
Excused.
Ron Kinsley.
Here.
Ron Buckholz.
Here.
Ed Peters.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, certification of compliance with open meetings law, Madam Clerk.
This meeting has been noticed to the public and news media as required by section 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes.
Thank you. Meeting agenda. I would entertain a motion at this time that we move number 10 between 7 and 8 so we can address it sooner. May I have a motion to do that?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman. I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Buckholz, second by Marshall, to approve the agenda.
Do you want 11 there or just 10?
Oh, I'm sorry, I got the wrong one. Number 11, thank you. Okay. Everybody understand we're approving the agenda, moving 11 after number 7. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Number 6, public comment. At this time, members of the public will be given the opportunity to address the board. Please adhere to the following when addressing the board. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes or less per individual. Comments should be directed to the board as a whole and not directed to individual board members. And the board cannot respond to your comments during this time. So I have a list of people to speak, and we'll start with Miss Kathy LaRue, please. State your name, address, 3 minutes, ma'am.
Kathy LaRue, 16201 Jolly Fisherman Lane, representing the Sawyer County Snowmobile and ATV Alliance. I'll keep it short. We believe that the final decision for routes on county-owned roads should be made by the county. Simple as that. And we are available for comments if you have any or questions, answers during your discussion period. We're certainly willing to talk to you about that. And then lastly, thank you to this board for looking at this resolution. We hope that it does pass tonight. That's it.
All right, thank you. Okay, next I have Becky Sanderson. Becky Sanderson.
Hi, my name is Becky Sanderson, 9126 W. Johnson Road in Hayward. I'm speaking on behalf of the Lake Chippewa Resorts Association. We're one of the strongest and largest tourism entities in Sawyer County with 49 full members and 31 associate members. As business owners in Sawyer County, we continuously strive to better our businesses, which in turn improve the overall economy for everybody in Sawyer County. Financially, Sawyer County reaps the benefits of our business investments through increased sales tax, which they have seen every year since the county has imposed a 0.5% county tax. With the addition of room tax in many of our members' municipalities, our marketing has become much stronger, working to create the Hayward Lakes area and Sawyer County as a year-round destination. Historically, Wisconsin Department of Tourism, as well as the local tourism entities, include the Hayward Visitors and Convention Bureau and other tourism associations and chambers, have worked diligently to increase the flow of tourists during the shoulder seasons. With the tremendous increase of ATV and UTV sales in the Midwest and Wisconsin, our local volunteers have donated their time and talents in developing wooded trails so that people, tourists, residents alike, want to ride. If we can get connectivity between the wooded trails and our businesses, the business communities can bring more tax revenue to Sawyer County, as well as more employment for our neighbors and residents. The whole system brings thousands of riders, locals, and visitors to our trails on an annual basis. These riders have brought business to all corners of our county, from the sales equipment to lodging to food and beverage, and all forms that we find available throughout the county. With winters like we're just finishing, we have a resource that's been untapped for all of our businesses, which can easily be added to our list of outdoor recreational activities enjoyed by our locals and tourists. The use of our county highways to gain connectivity through the ATV, UTV trails so that our residents and guests can travel about the whole county, dropping greenbacks and businesses all along the way. We plead with you to amend the county ATV ordinance to allow county to decide as to the safety and use of the county roads to connect the ATV and UTV trails for public use. This would greatly increase the business income during the shoulder seasons that will provide more stable employment opportunities for Sawyer County residents, more time for our residents to enjoy the joys of living in the Northwoods of Wisconsin, greater income to our county in your sales tax revenue, and greater income to the townships that collect the room tax on the lodging stays.
Okay, can you wrap it up, ma'am?
Yep. Thank you for
Please.
serving the residents of Sawyer County, and thanks for listening to us all.
Okay, thank you. All right, next I have a Joseph from Bucktail Lodge. I don't want to mispronounce your last name, sir.
Joseph Schneering,
Yep,
W7014 Circle B Road, Winter, Wisconsin.
thank you.
I represent Bucktail Lodge, the Four Wing Warriors, and also one of the main members of Winter Huskies. And first of all, I want to say thank you all to giving us all a chance to talk. Without you guys, it makes it tough. So thank you for your dedication to being hold the positions that you guys hold. Okay. One, tough winters, hurts all businesses. Okay, I mean, and it really does. But this isn't the main reason we want to try to push this forward. To me, it really does connectivity. I enjoy using the UTV and ATV routes probably as much as almost anyone else in the county and any other guests that come to the county. But I also look at the way that it's tough for our local law enforcement, okay, to sturdy in the laws, okay? It's tough on them when they go from township to township, where parts of county roads are open, some of them are not, and it makes it tough for them to enforce, okay? 26 years in the military, all about rules and regulations, and I understand it, but it's pretty much straight across. And it's really important to help our officers to be able to enforce the laws easier instead of possibly maybe missing that they're in another township and maybe they just went across and it's okay in this one, it's not okay in that one. So it's really important for them. I believe it'll open up connectivity where some counties have, surged a lot and really helped out their businesses, which in favor, just like the last person said, will help out the tax dollars coming to our county to help, support more things. That's really all I got, and thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next I have Ann Swanson. Oh, okay. Can I read it, Ann? No. Oh. Read this? Okay. But you're here in support of the ATV, UTV access? Okay. Okay, thank you. All right, next then, Sherry Beckman, please.
Hello, Sherry Beckman, 11964 West Blue Island Road, Hayward. You guys see me every month, and I'm very excited to see that ATVing is on your agenda because that's something we talk about every single month. I did send you a letter about 3 weeks ago, which I was gonna read, but I think since we have so many other people who wanna talk, I don't think I need to read it. ATVing is very important to us, especially after the winter we just had. And I wanna say thank you for putting it on the agenda. And I also wanna thank our community for everything that they do for ATVing, like the trails and the signage and cleanup when there's storms. And we just have to remember what a great group of volunteers we have in this community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, next then I have Mr. Terry Hogan, please.
Can you talk me into this tweet?
I did.
Terry Hogan, 9324N Secluded Trail. I'm gonna make it short and sweet. Our area is driven by tourism. I'd like to see the county control the rules as far as travel. Otherwise, you have one township that can limit travel or access across the rest of the county. Send a message to our tourists that Sawyer County welcomes them all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, next I have Tatum Treeland Schlapper, please.
Tatum Treeland Shopper, 10098 W County Road B, Hayward. County Board of Supervisors. For the past 110 years, 4 generations of the Treeland family have continuously lived, worked, and paid taxes on our property located in both the towns of Hunter and Round Lake. From sawmill to farm to 96 years and counting of resort operation. There is a sense of pride that comes with putting back what was earned into the family business, as well as putting it back into the community. With time comes change, and change is necessary in this case. It is time to open our county roads to ATV use. We all pay a substantial dollar amount to the county in the form of taxes collected and paid out. Yet at Treelands and a number of other local businesses, we are denied the same rights as others who pay those same taxes. Connectivity is the key linking the businesses together. A great example is Highway B. Opening a 4.5-mile stretch of B from Fire Lane 319 to South Shore Road ties the entire Chippewa flowage, Callahan, and Reed Lakes to the Cable and Drummond area and north up to Lake Superior and beyond, not to mention all points south. This request has been denied by the town boards multiple times. The boards, which are now even refusing to put it on the agenda going forward, costing Treelands and other businesses thousands in potential revenue, dollars that would be put directly back into the community. Why doesn't the county board exercise control over its own county roads? This winter, not having access to the ATV and UTV trails was a huge detriment to our business. In addition to decreased restaurant and lodging traffic and closing 2 weeks earlier than planned, we saw groups who had booked lodging cancel as they could not bring their ATV or UTVs in the place of their snowmobiles, all because a 4.5-mile stretch of Highway B that Treeland Resort sits on is not connected to the trail system. Why are we relegated to sit on an island? The seasons are short and every dollar counts, yet the town boards in the county are denying us a major revenue source. Every year the cost of doing business rises. Every dollar made is stretched thinner than the year before. Sawyer County and the Hayward Lakes area are built on tourism, logging, and farming. The town of Hunter has the premier lake in Sawyer County, if not in Wisconsin. Yet they're denying access to the businesses who are trying to make a living on the Chippewa flowage. These resorts are family-owned and operated. They're multi-generational and have resisted what seems to be the new norm of selling off the property. With the 5th generation of the Treeland family up and coming, we hope that they will have the opportunity to continue our family tradition. It gets harder and harder to operate and maintain a small business, and access to new revenue sources is imperative to success. In conclusion, the use of our county highways to gain connectivity of our ATV and UTV trails will help greatly increase business income and stability, bringing in more tax revenue, employment opportunities, and business to all sectors of business throughout the county. Thank you for listening and serving the residents of Sawyer County. On behalf of all of us Treelands, Harold and Jan Treeland, myself, Chris Schlapper, Tyler, and Mallory Treeland. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, next we have Mr. Jim Strandland, please. Jim Strandland.
Thank you. I'm Jim Strandland. I live in the town of Round Lake at 7253 West Moose Lake Club Road in Hayward. Thank you all for allowing me to speak tonight. Appreciate it. I want to talk about the proposed amendment that you have on the agenda. I feel in section 28-3-4 of your amendment proposal that I've read, could use a little clarification of what is local jurisdiction. Wisconsin statute S 23.33 states it's up to the authority that has jurisdiction over the highway to make the decision to open up the highway as an ATV or UTV route. I know Sawyer County is asking the towns for their permission in the ordinance, but if the towns want to open up a route in their roads, in their town, do they have to ask Sawyer County for the permission? I don't think so. If this winter hasn't shown us the need to open up county roads to allow more ATV, UTV traffic to help our Sawyer County tourism, you may be ignoring some of your constituents' needs. I feel it's great that Sawyer County Board is opening this up for discussion tonight. And at this time, I would like to ask all the people here tonight to raise their hands that are here to show the county board who is in favor of the Sawyer County Board in amending this ordinance. Everybody, please. I hope you see there's a lot of people that feel real serious about this, and please take the time and look at your ordinance adjustment and come up to a fruitful decision for us. There are a lot of other counties and towns in Wisconsin that are reaping the benefits financially that we may be missing. Keep in mind, there is an annual renewal in case there are issues with some of the town roads or county roads that are being opened. These can always be reevaluated and addressed. It is important cohesiveness with the Sawyer County Sheriff's Department as well. Knowing which roads and which routes are open for them if they need to investigate or arrest issues. So keep in mind it is important to have some cohesiveness for them as well. Please consider bringing this to a vote to change the ordinance and open up the roads and the routes, as many ATV and UTV visitors are choosing now other counties and towns to stay and ride because their roads are open. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you. All right, next I have Miss Linda Zelmer, please.
Linda Zilmer, resident of the village of Birchwood with a property along the Tuscobia Trail and property owner in the town of Edgewater on F that was recently opened as a road route. The county board members received an email from me today that explained that the state DOT and the DNR both do not have plans to provide for off-road vehicles operating on paved roads. There's nothing in the DOT plans, there's nothing in the DNR plans, and the training says to stay off of roads. So I start from a premise that unless it is a trail-to-trail connectivity and that it's safe, road routes should not be used. Also, I referenced in my email the county's own comprehensive plan, which provides for intergovernmental cooperation. And this is an instance of, I've heard a few people now mention that the county should decide county roads over towns. But I remember a year ago, do the tribal members here feel the same way that the county should have jurisdiction over what you want because you have separate rules within the reservation boundaries? But I do think that bringing this resolution to amend an ordinance straight to the county board without it going through the jurisdiction, the committee of jurisdiction, is not the way to do it. There's intergovernmental cooperation that can be used, or this could be gone through a committee, and I don't see the reason to rush to have it changed by, by a suspension of the rules. But the main thing I wanted to say, if you could bear with me, is on Monday evening, I had the honor and pleasure of watching Robert Langham be recognized for 50 years on the Birchwood School Board. And he's also been 50 years on his Sand Lake Town Board. And I know I learned he taught for 35 years at Winter. And I know at least there's one person here who is a student of his, and he's kind of giggling right now. But, people recognize Bob for the honest and straightforward person he is. And I think it speaks something that somebody gets to serve on those two positions for 50 straight years. He respects the process. He's very much involved. I guess the big thing is there's a number of town and county conflicts going on right now, and I hope we hear more during the zoning report about what's happening with that zoning ordinance amendment. Because now this thing about overriding towns on road routes is just another poke in the eye. But Bob was recognized, Senator Romaine Quinn was there, and Assembly Representatives Chance Green and Jimmy Boy Edming also appeared. And although they don't have the pleasure of knowing Bob like most of us do, I'm sure their offices all get a lot of calls as he advocates for his town and for the school. And if you're in
Okay, you
our
wanna wrap it
Birchwood
up,
School
Linda,
District,
please?
please vote for the referendum. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Elmer. Okay, next I'll go with Mr. Doug Kurtzwell, please. Doug Kurtzwell.
Douglas Kurtzwell, 11055W Arrow Road, Hayward, Wisconsin. Wisconsin's towns, or rural towns, have a well-deserved and well-earned reputation for being the most fiscally responsible, most accountable to their constituents level of government in the state. I've worked with town boards for over 40 years, and I would say that they are probably the most representative of their voters and their taxpayers as a whole level of government in the entire United States. They can't go out to services on Sunday or Friday fish fries if they're running afoul of their people. They can't go out without getting an earful from their neighbors. I think the system we have for opening roads has gone fairly well. It involves everybody. Sometimes it takes some time, some negotiations. I have heard rumors that there are 3 towns in particular that the well-funded and well-organized special interest group is having problems with. But I have been to a number of the town board meetings in the town of Hunter, where I live, and I would see a group of a couple of dozen people, less than half of them actually residents of the town, and they would grill and repeat same thing over and over again to the town chair, and she patiently bore with them, listened to them politely, even though they were occasionally not quite so polite and disrespectful on occasion, and then answer the concerns. And the big concern is safety and clearance from the county highway commissioner with regards to the safety of that stretch of B that seems to be in such contention. I think that to cut the towns out of a meaningful place, a meaningful say-so in opening county roads in their jurisdiction is a slap in the face. I admire and I respect and support the ability of the tribe to get jurisdiction when it comes to opening county roads to ATVs within the tribal boundaries. That is their right. They are sovereign and good for them, by gosh, but don't give the towns short shrift. The Wisconsin Towns Association publishes a monthly newsletter magazine that's sent to all town officers. And for decades, their motto had been, lose town government and you lose America. In this case, with a request for a suspension of the rules, we have rules in place to suspend the rules for a special interest group, then you're taking the big chance of diminishing the towns. And if you diminish the towns, you diminish America.
You want to wrap it up, sir?
Thank you, sir. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
All right, appreciate it. Okay, next I'll go with Mr. Jim Bassett. Please, Jim Bassett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members.
Bet.
Thanks for the time to talk. I'll keep it short. There's been a couple ordinance developed by zoning, sent out to the town boards. First time around, 100% of the town boards voted said residents down. Second time around, 4 town boards voted for it, 10 against. You know, it's getting pretty obvious, at least to me, that the majority, the vast majority of Sawyer County did not like that ordinance. I think there are some parts in there that are headed in the right direction. It would be nice if those could be vamped out piece by piece and not made into such a humongous, hard to read ordinance change. The The people of Sawyer County have made their choice. I would just hope and pray that you folks all start to recognize what the true desire is over that ordinance change. There is a meeting next week, I guess I need to attend, on short-term rental and ordinances, zoning, whatever, however that's being held, to protect the people of the county from the 1 week term messes that these short-term rentals produce. And I would hope we could get some law ordinance in effect to protect the people of this county before we get such drastic changes. Thank you, everybody, for your time and trouble.
Okay, thank you, sir. Can you give me copies? All right, next I got Mr. Benjamin Kurtzwell. Please, Ben Kurtzwell.
Thank you. Benjamin Kurtzwell, 16040W West Lane, Town of Hayward. I guess I want to speak in opposition to this ATV amendment for a couple different reasons. One, I am all for local control with the towns. I think anyone who lives I know a lot of people who live in the southern part of the Sawyer County who feel that Hayward doesn't pay enough attention to them. And anyone in Sawyer County knows that Madison doesn't pay enough attention to Sawyer County. The farther away you get from the source, it seems that there is more of a disconnect between the citizens and the people who are making the rules. So keeping local control with the towns, I believe, is necessary. I also agree that I believe something like this should go through the proper channels of a committee as opposed to suspending the rules to change the rules in a lame duck session of a county board right on the eve of an election. I think that is very ill-advised also. The other concern I have here is if the county creates an ordinance that has unequal application, if the law is not equally applied to everyone within that jurisdiction, it would seem that that law may be unconstitutional. And if it is applied on one edge of the tribal boundaries and not inside the boundaries and on the outside differently, that would seem it's not being equally applied. So I would consider that when doing anything like this. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Ben. All right, then I have Miss Dina Weldon. Dina Weldon, please.
Dina Weldon, N154 Birchwood, Wisconsin, 54817. My name is Dina Weldon, and I'm a representative here today for the Lakoutere Band. First, I wanted to thank the county for acknowledging the Lakoutere Band in the proposed resolution to begin with. It's important for the county and the tribe to work together and to cooperatively work together as we move forward on all decisions in the future. With that said, we did want to point out today that the tribe is in a unique position. The tribe is a sovereign government, a sovereign authority. It's one of four mentioned in the Constitution, right? It's the federal government, the states, foreign governments, and the tribes. And I just want to point that out, that we are sovereign and as such should be treated so. The tribe is not bound by any ordinance or resolution made here today or likely in the future regarding ATV routes. But it is in the mutual benefit of everybody for the county to work with the tribe. Now, I'm not here to advocate for any routes or any certain roads to be open or not open today, but rather for the county to remember that as a sovereign, we need to be treated such. And because of that, we also need to have more say in the process for roads that go through the reservation than townships. And we hope we can work together in the future for this, but then also to remember, we also want ATV use on the reservation as well. It is beneficial for our businesses, so we don't want to hinder any progress, but want to be respected and treated as a sovereign. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, you have some letters you want to read in?
Correct. The first is from Mary Beth Lind, 9324N Secluded Trail. Hayward is a tourist destination and one township should not have the authority over county. Without tourism, this area will suffer economically. The
Okay,
next
thank you.
is from Mr. James Taylor. My name is James Taylor. I own Run Amok Rides located at 13679 W Thanum Fire Lane, Hayward, Wisconsin. Run Amok Rides rents snowmobiles, boats, and side-by-side ATVs. I am writing to support efforts to open county highways to ATVs. We rent boats and off-road equipment to over 1,100 tourists a year. Upon their arrival, we routinely ask customers what brought them to vacation in the Hayward area. Overwhelmingly, they point to the allure of the extensive trail system and the region's many lakes. Upon completing their vacation experience, we ask our guests whether they think they will return. Boaters and snowmobilers nearly always say yes. ATVers answer with a maybe. Year over year, we have a high number of returning snowmobilers and boaters. ATVs, on the other hand, are far less likely to return. In general, ATVers mention that there is better riding in other parts of the state as well as Minnesota. When pressed for specifics, ATVers mention the lack of connectivity between off-road trail systems, the inability to access infrastructure such as lodging and fuel, and inconsistent and opaque ordinances related to ATV use. Based on the sheer amount of business that we have come out to support the open county highways to ATVs, it's pretty clear that the combined wisdom of hundreds of county business owners resoundingly implore the county to open county highways to ATVs in order to drive tourism. Some may claim that ATVs are unsafe on paved roads. This is not supported by facts as well as my personal experience. I am aware of just 2 ATV accidents on county roads within the last 2 years and no fatalities. I suspect that those making the unsafe claim have minimal ATV riding experience. I could make the not safe argument regarding any activity that shares the roads with automobiles, cyclists, pedestrians, slow-moving tractors, horse and buggies, etc. I point out that unlike ATVs, none of the latter types of machines have headlights, taillights, and pay fuel road costs or taxes. I have heard some folks complain about ATVs being noisy or dirty. ATVs have the same noise limiter technology, mufflers, and emitter standards that cars do. Furthermore, ATVs riding on paved roads kick up no more or less dirt than a car would. ATVers do not relish driving on paved roads. Frankly, they're too boring. What they do provide, however, is efficient access to the many countywide segments of off-road trails, lodging, food, and fuel, a means to an end. Letting individual townships decide on whether the sections of county roads should be open to ATV traffic is inequitable to the county as a whole. It provides oversized power to a few to the detriment of the many. I encourage the county to take a measured and reasonable approach to opening up important sections of all county roads to ATV traffic. Thank you. I have one more, and this is Amanda Wilson, 8535 N Deerfoot Road. Good evening. My name is Amanda Wilson, and I have owned and operated Deerfoot Lodge on the Chippewa Flowage for the last 12 years. I typically employ 8 team members year-round and 20 team members during the peak summer season. I'm writing to ask for your support in opening up all county roads for ATV, UTV use to better connect businesses and make Sawyer County's trail system more enjoyable and easier to use for all parties. Deerfoot's business was down roughly 70 to 80% this winter due to the lack of snow and ice. And as I'm sure you also have heard from many other businesses, numbers like that are difficult to bear. At Deerfoot, we're fortunate to be on Road Route 1 and Lake Trail 18, but being better connected would have significantly moved the needle for us this winter since ATVs and UTVs cannot ride on snowmobile-only trails near us, and the ice was not safe to travel for most of the winter. From firsthand experience, I can tell you that people do not want to trailer the machines to access different parts of the trail system. They prefer to go somewhere else. The current arbitrary open here, close there trail routes rules, often based on only township, are not only harder for law enforcement officials to enforce, but frustrating to visitors and locals, with visitors often choosing not to rebook, opting to explore more cohesive trail systems available in neighboring destinations. I imagine the Sawyer County budget will look different as a result of lost sales tax revenue from this past winter. And I encourage you to consider that what bold moves would be needed if top line revenue for Sawyer County was 70 to 80% down, like it is for a lot of us, for our local businesses right now. Keeping this in mind, I ask you to please make the bold move to open all county roads to ATV, UTV use to connect and support our local businesses and the families who depend on them.
Okay. Andy, you have one letter too, please?
This letter was submitted by Rolf Hansen, Town of Round Lake. Additional signing on were Laura Russ, Town of Hunter, and Tim Sheldon, Town of Spider Lake. Tweed Schuman, Sawyer County Board of Supervisors, on the subject of the county board once again discussing the removal of Sawyer County towns from the decision-making process over ATV, UTV operation on the county highways. Nothing has changed from the standpoint of the towns, residents, and visitors potentially impacted. Proponents of this idea continue to dismiss the honest concerns of residents and visitors by insisting that county roads be opened and that the other issues simply be ignored. What are the other issues? Many have been brought up previously, but here are a few. Number one, data to support changing this policy. Where is the data backing up claims that opening roads to ATV, UTV use will result in economic benefit for all in the towns?
Tyler. Good.
Number two, if your policy decision
Tyler, you got that?
is to be based on alleged economic benefits to the towns and county, will you rely only on the speculations of one or two local businesses on Highway B to represent the interest of all county residents? In other words, you are proposing changing policy countywide based on the insistence of a small group in one small section of the county. Number three, instead of only relying on the perspectives for one or two businesses, the Hayward Lakes Visitors and Convention Bureau, representing many businesses all over the area, published a survey in March of 2023. This survey was conducted with the help of a third party, the Derringer Research Group, and not by local government, a recreational advocacy group, or simply by the HLVCB. The complete results are too detailed to post here, but among the many takeaways listed, the majority of respondents traveling to Hayward who really drive economic development come here for nature, natural landscapes, lakes, forests, and wildlife, and then attractions and activities, lumberjack championships, shopping, and restaurants. Peacefulness, and finally recreation, the subcategories of water activities, beaches, boating, hiking trails, and family activities as the main categories. There is no mention in any of these categories of ATV, UTV riding, at least as the primary tourist draw, if you read the survey. Number four, on the same survey, residents weighed in with the suggestions to make visits to Hayward Lakes more enjoyable. 80% did not recommend any changes, and the rest of the specific suggestions did not include anything ATV, UTV riding, or access related. Recommendations by the Derringer Group for the HLVCB, which included focusing not only on the natural beauty of the area, did not include opening all roads, county or town, to grow the visitor base or to drive further economic development. The survey contains lots of detail, feedback, and suggestions, but nowhere within does the feedback suggest that what visitors desire as a primary or even minor reason for traveling to Sawyer County is opening all county or town roads for so-called connectivity for more ATV, UTV use. So even though the HLVCB board, a board which includes Highway B business owners, wrote a letter to support taking away town control, they solicited and cannot ignore the data and recommendations from the Derringer Group. 5, we don't need a survey to confirm that folks come here to use the ATV, UTV trails, but the recent data confirms that the main reason folks visit, and in some cases relocate, are for the peacefulness and nature of rural Hayward compared with other areas in the Midwest. Let's not forget that as long as there have been cars and trucks, folks have and will continue to patronize the businesses and people they want to support when they visit or live here. And there's nothing preventing folks from using a car or truck to access a business unless you don't have a license.
Can you wrap it up, Andy, real quick?
No, I got 4 more paragraphs. What's that?
One more.
One more paragraph?
Yep, try to wrap it up.
Our towns have successfully balanced recreational user groups for decades by compromise. The majority of full and part-time residents, property owners, and visitors have expressed that ATVs and UTVs are fine in the woods and on the trails, but not on all roads. Up until a couple of years ago, riders respected this and understood they could ride for pleasure without impacting the non-road riding group. Our last comprehensive plan survey clearly reflected the desires of residents and property owners to keep riding mostly on trails.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Is that all our public comment? Tyler, is anybody online for public comment? Okay, who would that be, sir? Martin Hanson. Do you wish to speak during public comment, sir? Yep, go ahead, sir. State your name, address, and you get 3 minutes. Okay, thank you. Alex, that's it then? Sorry, I called you Tyler earlier. Okay, if there's nothing else, then that concludes public comment. Thank you. We'll move.
Chairman?
Yes,
I'd like
sir.
to make a
Mr.
comment
Buckles.
Quickly.
Sure.
In the future, we gotta recognize the letters as 3 minutes as these guys come up to the podium, and that's all they get is 3 minutes. So I didn't time it. I probably should have, but I didn't know they were gonna be that long. So that's just for the future on letters. Should be the same amount of time as the public gets to speak here.
That is correct. Thank you, Mr. Buckles. Okay, then. Moving on to number 7, board member recognition. Mr. Alvarado, we'll start with our county board supervisors that will be leaving us. And we'll start with Mr. Jason Weaver. If you wanna. Who should? Thanks, Andy. Okay, and then next we have Mr. Dale Schleter. Eighteen years for Mr. Schleter. Okay, then, yeah, that's right. All right, next we have Mr. Ed Peters. Yeah, it doesn't say on there. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your kind years of service. All right, then, we'll move on to the resolution. Correct, Mr. Alvarado? Am I jumping ahead too fast? All right, so this ATV UTV ordinance resolution amendment has come to the board, sponsored by 3 Sawyer County Board supervisors, and that's what gets it to the agenda. And they are Supervisor Mark Helwig, Supervisor Jason Weaver, and Supervisor Chris Rusk. So with that, we will need a 2/3 majority vote to bring this up for discussion and possible action. Okay, so at this time, one of the sponsors could make a motion to bring this to discussion.
Chairman, I make a motion to suspend the rules and put the resolution on the floor for discussion.
Okay.
I second that.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Mark, I got a motion by Mr. Weaver, second by Mr. Helwig to suspend the rules and place this on our agenda for discussion and possible action. The motion is to approve. Madam Clerk, we'll need a roll call vote. And what is, Andy, what is the 2/3 majority to bring it to the floor?
I believe we have 15 members voting, 13 present in the room and 2 online. So that'd be 10 votes for a 2/3 vote to pass.
10 votes to pass. Okay, everybody understand the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call vote.
Mr. Helwig. Mr. Schuman.
Yes.
Mr. Kinsley.
No.
Mr. Van Etten.
Yes.
Mr. Buckholz.
Yes.
Mr. Peters.
No.
Mr. Schleter.
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
No.
Ms. Hessel.
Yes.
Mr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mr. Duffy. Mr. Bissonnette. What was that? Yes. Mr. Savitsky,
Yes.
Mr. Rusk, Mr. Righeimer. Oh, okay, thank you. We have
Okay,
2, 3. Andy, double check me. 1, 2, 3, no.
Yep, 12-3. 12 yeses, 3 noes.
okay, motion carries. All right, so. Okay, so now before us, and Andy, I'll let you explain more on this, is our 2024 ATV UTV ordinance resolution amendment. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, as listed in the resolution, this would amend section 28.3.4, the administration of the ordinance. I'll just run through it, the underlined, or if you have a color copy, the red language would be added to the section, and the words that are struck through would be removed. So when the current process is the Sawyer County Snowmobile ATV Alliance submits requests to the Highway Department, to the Commissioner for review, who then takes them to the Public Works Committee, and then they make a recommendation to the board to amend the ordinance for route approvals. With that, the Alliance is to currently provide a copy of approved minutes approving the road route from the local jurisdiction. The change would require that the Alliance submit proof of a request for recommendation, which would be a approval, denial, or no preference or action from the local jurisdiction with the request. And then there's a strikeout a little further down that all route requests within the LCO reservation shall be provided to the La Coudray Tribal Council for their review and approval. That is not necessarily part of the Alliance's request. That is something the Alliance or the county has to do as part of the process. And then additional language just clarifying that the Public Works Committee shall review the ATV, UTV route requests, including appropriate criteria for making a designation, and make a decision. And then the additional language is recommending or approval or denial of the request to the county board. The county board shall make the following determination to approve or deny the request.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Alvarado. So, pleasure of the board. You have a resolution in front of you which amends the county ordinance, as Mr. Alvarado just explained. Ms. Hessel.
I make a motion to approve the resolution as written.
Okay. Motion by Ms. Hessel. Mr. Weaver.
I'll second that.
Okay, and I got a second by Mr. Weaver approving the resolution amending the county ordinance. Is there any further discussion? Chris, do you have any discussion online? Okay. So you wanted an electronic vote, Madam Clerk?
Yes. Voting.
This will be a electronic vote. The motion is to approve the resolution amending the ordinance.
Could I get the vote from Mr. Righeimer? Oh, I forgot Righeimer. Stacy, I have Chris is over there.
Okay, is the polls are open, Madam?
Would you, Chris Rusk, would you cast your vote, please? Okay, and I need some of the others did not cast, so Mr. Kinsley, Tom Duffy, could you do yours again? Tweed?
I didn't. Did I not?
Ron Buckholz?
Did I?
Dale, yours didn't. Green or red? There you go. And Mark, yours is the last one to cast again. Could you give that another shot? Maybe the batteries are a little slow with everybody going around.
No, it's just blue.
It's just blue. Okay. Yes, you're in. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, the motion passes 12-3. Nay votes from Mr. Kinsley, Mr. Peters, and Ms. Wilson.
Okay, motion carries. All right. All right, thank you all for attending. We'll move on then to number 8. Consider approval of our meeting minutes from our previous meeting, February 15th, 2024. Mr. Buckholz.
Make a motion to approve as presented, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Duffy. Second. All right. Motion by Mr. Buckholz, second by Mr. Duffy, approving our meeting minutes of February 15th, 2024 as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll just, yep, sorry. You got it.
Alex, could you mute?
Dale, you leave it? You leave it?
Thanks, Dave. There's a lot.
Dale, could you stay for a photo? Jason.
You ready? Yep. Oh. You got the next report? Huh? Go ahead. Well, you say that, Andy. Yeah.
They said, well, because they knew you would come back. I'm like, how would they know? Should've come.
We just started. Okay. Where did I get Tyler? He didn't either. Okay. Okay. All right, moving on then to number 9, zoning committee chair report. Mr. Buckholz.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The zoning committee held its monthly public hearing last Friday. A report of that meeting will be given to the county board in April. Last month's meeting, the committee had heard one rezone case. Will be discussed as the next agenda item and made for approval and for one conditional use permit. The committee continues to work through an ordinance amendment focusing around, excuse me, multi-dwelling development. Several versions have been discussed. We're hoping to hold a public hearing on the opposed amendment in April. The Tourist Rooming House Ad Hoc Committee will meet next Thursday. There's a draft ordinance version that will be available on the website, hopefully tomorrow, and will most likely be moved to another committee's of jurisdiction. The official public hearing will most likely be conducted by the HHS board, which if approved, there will come to the full county board. With no additional questions, I turn it over to Jay. She's virtual, I think.
Okay, Jay's on. Okay, Mr. Kozlowski, we have action item letter B, sir. Okay, pleasure of the board regarding this rezone resolution. Ms. Hessel.
I make a motion to approve rezone 24-002.
Mr. Buckholz.
Second that motion.
Okay, I got a motion by Ms. Hessel, second by Mr. Buckholz, approving the rezone number 24-002 as just described by Mr. Kozlowski. So we will do another electronic vote, correct, Madam Clerk?
That is correct.
So the motion is to approve.
The motion is to approve. Mr. Rusk, please cast your vote. Mr. Righeimer. Okay. The motion passes 14-0.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Motion carries. Next is number 10. Are you all finished, Mr. Buckholz?
Yes, that's.
Okay. Number 10, Public Works Committee Chair Report. Mr. Kinsley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Maintenance Department reported that they're still working on a few items with a heating system. And they're also working with Legends Architects about the 1992 and 62 portion of the courthouse. They've also spent time repairing the furnace and heating system at the Winter and Hayward shop, highway shop. Airport management is still staying busy with airplanes in and out. They've had the Civil Air Patrol out doing a lot of work for them. And they have the Highway Department doing brushing for them. It's helping a lot. Also, there's the master plan for the airport being put together. We've had one meeting on March 6th, but open to the public, and then there'll be another meeting October, September, somewhere in that time frame. It'll be announced when we know when that's going to be. And at the Highway Department, they reported that all the roads are in good winter driving condition at this time. The road bans are still on. They'll be coming off soon, but it's not been projected when that will be. They're doing brushing on Highway 27 North, getting ready for the places that'll be worked on this coming summer. That concludes my report at this time.
Okay, thank you,
Any
Mr.
questions?
Kinsley. Any questions for Public Works?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on then, number 12, Public Safety Committee Chair Report. Mr. Buckholz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The public safety meeting was held on March 7th. Ms. Amp Barrow, I don't know if I'm saying that right, advised that we were able to bring many of the out-of-county caseloads back. Judge Isham arrived at approximately 9:30. The diversion court assessments are beginning, and they are getting more buy-in from the defense attorneys on program. And the program is going well so far. They are getting through their backlog cases. There was a written report from the clerk of courts. As of 1/23 through 2/27, $25,653.70. Collections are up a bit of the criminal court cases taking places of having 2 judges. The sheriff's report, patrol written report was reviewed by, and Sheriff Brotek said that we have a very successful Berkey despite having no snow. Traffic was heavy but flowed well. He commended Mr. Alvarado on his work with the developing safety measures. Patrol volume increased from last month's report to 827. The statistics are highlighted by Lieutenant Rupinski. Deputies Ryan Crummell and Paige Waller have now officially started their patrol shifts as their newest full-time members. And these are both sponsored by the Sawyer County and the Academy. Deputy Mike Meyer has cleared field training and is currently working as our primary part-time deputy jailer. A jail report was given by Chief Sedera. There are 7 on electronic monitoring and 1 with Huber privileges. Total population was 68. They are still short 2 full-time positions in the jail, but have prospects who are finishing various trainings. The code enforcement specialist, Mr. Alvarado, advised that interviews have been conducted and offer has been made. Communication specialist, a report of a new provider, GenCom, was provided and reviewed by Aaron Genman. There's a few items should be addressed right away, such as bad antennas at the Hayward water tank. An original goal was 80 to 90% total coverage in the county, but the sheriff believes we need more work to get 95% total coverage. New infrastructure will come at a cost of about 1.3 million. Mr. Alvarado is reviewing options. Emergency management, a written report was by Lieutenant Mr. Pinsky. Volume is up from last year. Part-time staff has accepted full-time positions. The 50th American Burger Mining went smoothly. She continues working with the towns and villages on emergency operations. And then the child support department, a written report was given. Total support due was $497,775.62, and collected was $300,051.788.37. Emergency services written reports was provided to the date. There have been 314 ambulance runs. They're working towards getting a 24-hour crew set up in Hayward. And ambulance billing and payment reports are reviewed. Staff AED training on March 6th had good attendance. That ends my report, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Buckles. Mr. Kinsley, did you have a question, sir?
I'm sorry, no.
No, all right. All right. Appreciate that. Mr. Peters is ready to go over there, so we'll go to number 13. Land, Water, Forest Resource Committee Chair Report. Mr. Peters.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. On March 13th, Land, Water, and Forest Resources met, and we received reports from the surveyor that they've performed maintenance on several corners in the towns of Winter, Round Lake, and Spider Lake, and also they reviewed 2 certified survey maps. A real property lister report indicated that parcel data and information on changes throughout the past year was given to the assessors, and they are working on processing deeds and certified surveys maps. There was also an update on Daniel's Law to establish privacy and protection for judicial officers. And in addition to that, Mr. DeVries mentioned that they have been reviewing a review of other training sessions that have been attended by staff. County Forestry Department Recreational Trails Report, Ms. LaRue indicated that the trails have been closed down until weather allows reopening. Whether that's frost in or frost out, nobody's sure right now. County Forestry Report, we did receive a very nice report from the DNR audit on our Forestry Department, which received high marks. Revenue for the month was not quite as high as expected, but sales and inspections are on target. Staff attended annual training and were able to attend sessions with legislators. There was a resolution which will be coming up momentarily for outdoor recreational aids, and it was presented for review, and this allows the county to submit to the DNR for financial aid and reimbursement claims. Zoning and Conservation Department, the county report, several several producers have signed up for nutrient management education training. The tree sale inventory is completely sold out, and all dam inspection, operation, and maintenance plans have been updated. The grant application to the DNR has been placed for the Fish Trap Lake Dam, and we're waiting for approval. USDA report by Mr. Beasy from, actually from Ladysmith's office, indicated that Sawyer County is moving under the purview of the Ladysmith field office going forward. And there were many details with regard to the amount of assistance and other things going on. The LCO report, Mr. Bissonette reported that the tribe is working with the Alliance on ATV issues, and they have started preparing for upcoming fish hatchery operations. We will be looking at another foreclosure update, and, excuse me, that's not, we'll be looking at the reserved rights for flowage easements coming up as another action item. That concludes my report.
Okay, sir. Thank you, Mr. Peters. Okay, Andy, letter B, release of reserve rights for flowage easements and gravel pits on a parcel in the town of Winter, sir.
Yes, we've been requested to release flowage rights and gravel pit rights that were attached to a property back in 1945. What you have in the pack is the legal document showing the chain of title from that time when the county sold properties that were taken through tax foreclosure. They would attach a statement with in the quit claim deed that they were reserving the road right-of-way, flowage easements, or gravel pits needed in the future by Sawyer County. That statement is then survived throughout the years as the title to the property has been transferred. The current owners are intending to sell it and have asked for that to be released because it clouds the title, and their title company has raised it as an issue. In talking with our corporation counsel, these requests come up periodically as these properties from that era are transferred, and the county's practice has been to release those rights because effectively they're not enforceable anymore and they have no value to us. There was at one time a fee charge for reviewing the legal docs or preparing the legal docs. In this case, the property owners have done all the preparing the documents and we've just had to review them. So the recommendation is to approve the quitclaim deed that's on page 42 and 43, which is a quitclaim deed from Sawyer County to John D. Schmidt and David Schmidt. And then the legal description, the conveyance is intended to release any and all flowage rights and any and all rights to gravel pits reserved in those prior quitclaim deeds.
Okay, thank you. All right, entertain a motion to take the recommendation then to approve the quitclaim deed. Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Hellwig?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Peters, second by Mr. Hellwig. To approve this, accepting this quitclaim deed, correct, Mr. Alvarado?
Yes.
All right, and this is another electronic vote. The motion is to approve. Are
The
polls
motion
open?
is to approve. Mr. Righeimer, could I collect your vote? Mr. Rusk? The motion passes 14-0.
All right, thank you. Motion carries. All right, we'll move on then to number C, 2024 Recreational Trail Aids Resolution. Mr. Alvarado?
Yes, as Mr. Peters made in his report, this resolution was approved at the Land, Water, Forest Committee meeting. This is a resolution that gets filed with the Department of Natural Resources and allows the county to pursue financial aid that's available for trail work, snowmobile, ATV, or otherwise. And it's on file, and then it allows us, as the money's become available during the trail reimbursement periods, to submit for those funds.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Hessel?
I make a motion to approve the Outdoor Recreation Aid Resolution 2024.
I'll second that.
Okay, second motion by Ms. Hessel, second by Ms. Wilson to approve the resolution for outdoor recreation aids. This is a voice vote. So if there's no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, do you have anything else for us, Mr. Peters? Thanks again for your years of service, sir. All right, moving on then to number 14, Health and Human Services Board Vice Chair Report. Ms. Wilson.
I'll give that report for the March 12th meeting that we had. In adult long-term care, we had 19 referrals in February. There have been 16 open investigations since January regarding elder abuse cases. Currently, we have 3 clients on the Comprehensive Community Services Program and 1 new referral. There are 9 clients enrolled in coordinated service teams and 45 clients in the children's long-term support with 5 new referrals and 2 discharges. There are 7 of the 8 beds filled at the transition facility at this time. And Child Protective Services, there are currently 27 children placed in out-of-home care. They are working on the LCO developing the 161 agreement, which is an agreement that describes how the county and the tribe work together to ensure child protective services. This agreement gets updated annually. In youth justice, 1 case was referred to youth justice in January. The workers are carrying full caseloads. There are 27 cases being followed for ongoing case management, and there are an additional 10 cases that are pending court. For economic support, there were 9,338 calls answered at a 93.21% answer rate with a 69.72 minute wait time at the maximum. The consortium is much busier this year than last. The public health, they're providing a prevention coalition to have a community event to bring awareness about substance use, recovery, drug trends in Sawyer County, hidden in plain sight, vaping, Narcan, cybersecurity, stigma, and hope. It will be held April 9th from 4 to 8 p.m. at the Seven Winds Casino. The Tourist Rooming House Committee update, they met in February and the draft ordinance will be presented at the March 28th Tourist Rooming House Ad Hoc Committee. The ordinance will then go to the committees of jurisdiction before coming to the county board. And finally, our funding for this department consistently lags behind expenses. Mr. Schleter was recognized by the Health and Human Services Department for all the work that he's done over the years, and he in turn recognized the department for all the work that they do. That is my report.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wilson. Any questions, concerns from Health and Human Services? All right, if not, we'll move on to number 15, Finance Committee Chair Report. Mr. Kinsley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Department looks over the budget, gets updates of the budget. We get updates on the capital improvement plan. We've picked up the 2 new squad cars, the Sheriff's Department, and we look at construction project finances. We're about ready to wrap that all up. We look at investment updates. We look at the ambulance billing and charge offs, how much is getting charged off. We try to comprehend and see if there's anything else we can do with that. We have the elected officials wage review, which was approved, and it's on the agenda again tonight. And we looked at the 2023 legal fees by departments of the money spent for legal fees. And we're going to continue to have legal fees on the agenda moving forward for the year 2024. That concludes my report. We have 2 action items.
We do. Okay, thank you, Mr. Kinsley. Mr. Alvarado, we start with the resolution to designate general fund balance, please.
Sure, we did a designating general fund monies last month, and we're transferring them to separate funds. This will be just designating a portion of the general fund balance within the general fund for specific, because they're from specific sources. So as the resolution states, there's a sales tax assigned fund balance being established and an ambulance assigned fund balance being established. The reason for that is that sales tax primarily is revenues in excess of what has been projected. And because we have the special ability to levy that or to impose the 0.5% sales tax. We want to keep those funds segregated that are not being used so they can be applied correctly in future budgets. In the ambulance assigned fund balance, we have a EMS levy that is outside the normal levy. And so we want to make sure we track those funds as well so they can be applied specifically towards the ambulance, which was the intention of those dollars are brought in from the levy. So those are the monies above expenses that have accrued. And so we're designating those fund balances and labeling them so we can keep track of them.
Okay, Ms. Wilson?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. All right, pleasure of the board then. We've got a resolution designating fund balance. Mr. Kinsley?
Make motion to approve.
Okay, Mr. Buckles?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kinsley, second by Mr. Buckles to approve the resolution designating fund balance. And this is another electronic vote, so Madam
Correct.
Clerk, are the polls open?
The polls are open. I will collect a vote from Mr. Righeimer.
Motion is to approve.
Mr. Rusk. And the motion passes 14-0.
Okay, thank you. Next, letter C, resolution establishing elected official wages, discussion, possible action. Mr. Alvarado.
Yes, this is the time of the year where we need to set the wages for the next term for the constitutional officers of the county clerk, register of deeds, and county treasurer. This needs to be set before they take out the people interested take out papers, nominating papers, which is next month. We did have this ready to go in February, but we pulled it back because we did note that in some of our contemporaries, similar counties, the amount of adjustments were a little beyond what we had expected, so we've gone back and looked at it again and adjusted it. So as you can see, we're proposing starting wages of $70,491 in 2025, which is an $11,111 increase over current wages. That is I believe it's 18.71% increase, which is significant. Now, one caveat to that is the wages previously were based on a 35-hour work week, and they've historically been based on 35 hours. At one time, all of the positions in the treasurer's, register of deeds, and clerk's office were 35 hours, but sometime back, the positions other than the constitution officers were made 40 hours a week. So we've adjusted the wages first by making it a 40-hour a week position, and then we increased it to what the market is showing. And also, in addition to looking at our surrounding or area counties that are of similar makeup to us in terms of economics or population, we also looked at our own internal pay grid and put it on there relative to similar positions within the county. So that's how we arrived at the $70,491. And then for the subsequent 3 years to complete the 4-year term, it's a 2.5% increase is what the resolution is showing.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Buckles.
Make a motion to approve the establishing elected official wage resolution for 2024.
Mr. Savitsky.
And I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Mr. Buckles, second by Mr. Savitsky to approve the resolution. Another electronic vote, folks. Madam Clerk, polling open?
Polling is open. The vote to approve, cast a vote for Mr. Righeimer. Mr. Rusk. Okay. And the motion passes 14-0.
Okay, thank you. All right, number 16 then. Economic Development and UW Extension Committee Chair Report. Mr. Duffy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met on March 11th, and the University of Wisconsin Extension gave us a report on agricultural efforts in the county. They are sponsoring a school garden program at Hayward schools with students planting and harvesting food and then using the food for school meals. They are starting a class this month on strong bodies with lessons on how to exercise in a safe and healthy way. LCO Dementia Care Program has expanded their program for LCO elders, and they reached out to the state and to a federal program called FoodWise to support healthy eating habits and an active lifestyle. Economic Development gave us a verbal update on grant programs with local businesses. And then we heard from the airport master plan update. Andy gave us a report of the large public meeting that was recently held with FAA plans for possible future expansion. And I assume Andy will cover that in more detail in his report. We had library updates from both the Hayward and Winter. Both covered their summer programs. Winter is still engaged in fundraising to pay down the cost of their basement repairs. Motorized trail report, most county trails are closed, as Ed has indicated, because of the spring thaw. And we discussed at some length the open trails that was part of the open forum we had here this evening. The LCO Health Center construction is on schedule. And lastly, we discussed the Berkey 50th. A team from the University of Wisconsin was here for Berkey Week and filed last week their highlight as follows. Of the 13,100 registered skiers, 11,000 still came to the Berkey this year. Almost 97% of the visitors, or 10,390 visitors, who attended the Berkey Week event reside outside of the Cable and Hayward area. So in other words, 97% don't live in Hayward and Cable, they came from somewhere else. 74% of the attendees visited from outside of Wisconsin. So 74% of these skiers aren't even from the state. So almost 65% of the attendees came in groups of 3. In other words, skiers don't come oftentimes alone, they bring their friends. So it's a huge impact in the area. And they gave a conservative approach, estimating Berkey Week generated at least $4.3 million in new customer spending for the local economy. So that kind of ended our discussion on the Berkey Week. Lastly, any of you are involved, the Berkey registration for next year opens on April. If you want to get signed up for the front line, there's still time to do that. So that completes our report, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Duffy. Appreciate that. Okay, moving on, number 17 then, County Administrator's Report, Mr. Alvarado.
Can you letter A first, maybe?
You can.
Okay.
You can, sir.
So letter A is approval of the Statement of Financial Interest and Economic Disclosure. This has gone through the Ethics Committee and through the Admin Committee, and then is now at the board for approval. So just the background on this is in 2022, we adopted a new code of ethics, and we have had a few ethics complaints since that time. And one of the things that has come up is just conflict of interest or potential disclosure of those. So prior to this, or what we have currently is actually page 3. It was a simple form that just said, conflict of interest. You check a box, I do not have any actual or what we perceived as conflicts of interest, or I have the following potential actual perceived conflicts. And what we've found is that maybe you don't always realize what's a conflict or what may be perceived as a conflict. So the additional 2 pages were added to allow elected officials, department heads, people we appoint to boards who may fall under our code of ethics to complete the entire form and basically walk them through disclosing any information that may be pertinent. And that way, at least, some of the ethics concerns that have come up have been basically about adequate disclosure of any potential conflicts. Just because you have something on here that may be perceived as a conflict doesn't mean it is a conflict, but it goes a long way to avoiding any issues if they're known to be disclosed. So it asks things like, are you or your spouse related to any Sawyer County employees? Do you do business with the county? Have you received anything of value that would be in violation of the code? Do you have any claims against the county? Do you have any delinquent taxes, unpaid judgments? List any elected positions you currently hold, boards and commissions that you serve on, current employer, and any business you have 20% or more ownership in. So it essentially just walks a person through anything that they may want to or should disclose. And so we have this in front of the board for approval, and this will be used as the conflict of interest and disclosure form going forward.
Okay, Mr. Kinsley.
Make a motion to approve.
Ms. Hessel.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Kinsley, second by Ms. Hessel to approve the statement of economic interest and financial disclosure. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, your report, sir.
All right, I'll have the clerk upload this into the agenda after the meeting. I'm sorry it's not up there now. Just never quite got to the point of getting it completed this week, so apologize for that. Courthouse renovation, we're pretty much wrapping that up and getting the final bills paid. The project is complete. We are planning a ribbon cutting open house for May 16th. That'll be prior to the county board meeting. Tentative time for the ribbon cutting will be 5 p.m. And we'll be having tours and a short ceremony to dedicate the building. Personnel, we're still recruiting for a few positions in the clerk of court, sheriff, and ambulance. As was mentioned, we did do interviews for a new code enforcement specialist. That individual did accept, and they're starting on April 8th. And then we also have a deputy director position still open in HHS. Last month, I updated the board about a grievance filed by the Sawyer County Deputy Sheriff's Association. The admin committee did hear that on Tuesday, February 20th, and the grievance was denied. Since that time, we've been notified that they will be taking it to arbitration, so we're working on that. On March 6th, we did do countywide training. We had a half-day mandatory session for all employees. We did not include the sheriff and EMS. We'll be doing something separate for them. Their schedules are just a little bit more difficult to accommodate. But for the rest of the employees, they were here, made great use of this room. We did an active shooter courthouse safety presentation led by Deputy Darren Jensen. And then we had a fun session on workplace generational issues done by Brad Dringus of Superior Strategies. And then throughout the day, employees could take part in bloodborne pathogen training presented by a public health office, first aid and AED by the EMS. We had various providers from the community come in and do wellness sessions. There were jail and courtroom tours by the Sheriff's Department, and then safety presentation by Matt Morey from our workers' comp provider. So I think we've gotten really good reviews on that, and we're making that an annual event for the employees. Not a whole lot of corporation council updates, still essentially working on the same things. We did get the highway ordinances updated last month. As you've heard, there's a zoning ordinance amendment that's still being worked on. We anticipate bringing back some code enforcement, animal control ordinances. And then the tourist rooming house, they have an ad hoc committee meeting next week. And I anticipate that after that their work will be forwarded to the committees of jurisdiction, as we're calling them. It is coming out as a license subsequent to the ad hoc committee forwarding it on. It's coming out as a county license through public health. And so that's most likely the committee that will take the next steps with it. CJCC has been busy. There's actually quite a bit going on there, at least from a monitoring standpoint. A lot of work over the years has built up to where now we do have an active diversion court, which was running last year, and now this year the treatment court is fully functional and they're screening individuals to be a part of that court. And then there was the deflection grant for law enforcement that's being used right now and getting those individuals trained. The fentanyl campaign is ongoing, and then there's a continued monitoring of what's happening in the jail and our numbers there. So there's a fair amount of there, and also good engagement, having both judges and a lot of other individuals make up that council. As also has been mentioned, the airport master plan meeting was held on March 6th. There was the public information workshop. As I've said before, if you want any updates to see what's happening, everything is put on the website. You can see the chapter 4 has the alternatives they discussed. That was, I guess I would say, an initial presentation. Some things will be dropped, some other ideas might come forward. But it's at sawyercounty.airportstudy.net. Like Mr. Kinsley mentioned, the next meeting of that is planned for the September-October timeframe. So I kind of reiterate some things that have come up that I'll just go over again, is that we'll probably have to do some additional talking or training, not training, but just education on the airport. We do own the property. If you look it up on the tax rolls, it says Sawyer County, but we've been able to operate that county airport with federal assistance. So every time there's been a major project out there, we get federal funds to do that. Going back, some of the land was most likely acquired with federal funds. So we are tied to their rules. We sign grants and assurances every time we accept funds that keep those things in place, so that we have to follow FAA guidelines. So we have a connection there. Timeline for this master plan, probably won't see it back to the board for adoption or acceptance until this time next year, to be honest with you. They'll have another public meeting in the fall. They'll take it back, make their final adjustments, changes to it, and then the consultants will make some recommendations to the board. You're not bound by those, but there'll be their recommendation based on the FAA guidelines, safety policies, and the public input that they've received here. Nothing really new on economic development. Outside of we're still having discussions on housing and chipping away at that. Broadband, there was one grant received into the county in the most recent round of awards. Mosaic received a grant for the Sand Lake Edgewater areas. Lynn and I have discussed the board training for next month, so we'll have something ready for the new board. Good news is that if you're continuing on with the board, or the Wisconsin Counties Association and Extension will be holding their training sessions, and there will be one in Hayward, so there won't be much needed. You know, we won't have to travel very far for that. And then, like as also been mentioned, with our training day, we're doing more safety this year with our departments and getting everybody up to where they need to be for trainings and addressing safety within the different departments. The next big project, Mr. Buckholz mentioned in public safety, I anticipate will be the radio system, our public safety radio system. The new provider has come in with some recommendation, like some immediate things we need to do to make our current system functional, but they have some long-term plans as to what we need to do to get that desired portable radio coverage. And then the carbon credits, those are still in process. We did have another meeting with the new, and for everybody that's signed into that program right now, there is somewhat of a slowdown with the registry that's involved of getting applications through that. So that's just, don't anticipate any credits being marketed until next year. So that would mean any funds shouldn't be budgeted until 2026. Any revenues that we may receive.
Ms. Hessel.
Are you finished? I don't want to interrupt you.
Nope.
But I just want to give kudos to you and to Mr. Markren, because I feel like you inform our board completely, and I understand everything that you're saying, and sometimes in the past it was not so much, and so kudos to you and to Mr. Markren. Thank you.
Yep. Andy, how did your discussion go with the Waldo group in winter when we had that? They were to meet with you regarding how the county could support them in any way?
Yeah, it went well. I mean, I understand their request. It's similar to what we saw during the budget. There are, like I've shared with the board or the committee, based on state statutes, counties are able to conduct. We're authorized to do things by statute with the state. We can't do what we want always, so we'll try to match up their requests with what the county is authorized to do. Some immediate things though, I steered them towards our public health department. If they're going to go into having a kitchen and serving the public, they may need like a commercial kitchen or commercial kitchen equipment. Not that they will for sure, but they have not looked into that. So we have that, them looking into that. And then we'll be having that back to the finance meeting next month for you to discuss further.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on then, correspondence, reports. I know we have cake back there. Did I see that? For our fine gentlemen that are leaving us. Anybody have anything else? Okay, other than that, good luck in the elections, everyone. And hope to see you all back here. Okay?
So what are you gonna do?
We're adjourned. Thank you.